Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I know I've been gone for a while, but I'm glad to be back. I'm hoping to have like a rhythm for these videos in the future, so I'll let you know whether or not I'll be uploading basically the frequency, once a week, a couple times a week, once a day, who knows, right? I'd rather have it a bit more consistent than random. So, just a quick intro for this video. I'm going to be telling you about the tools that I use every day to get my work done, kind of software development, some of the stuff that I like to use to get some of this shit done. Um, right? So I've split these things into categories, and some of them I haven't really put into a category because I don't really know how to categorize these things. Okay, so to start off, we're going to start talking about CLI tools. So for my command line, I love to use iterm. Hyper is a good tool, right? It's a terminal emulator that's built on Electron and stuff like that, but I don't really use it because I haven't really found that it does anything for me that iterm doesn't. Okay, so for that, I like to use iterm. It's pretty lightweight. It does what it says in the box. Okay, and I use ZSH for my terminal, and I think this is the Agnosta theme, right? For ZSH, I don't like anything fancy. I just like to get in, get my work done. I should be able to see what branch I'm in. That's pretty much it. And speaking of branches, right? For organization, I like to use Git. Okay, so I use Git for all my projects version control, or at least any project that I want to keep track of, anything that I want to keep for the future, I use Git to manage my work. Okay, other than that, I also like to use, other than that for organization, I also like to use TickTick. Right, TickTick is a pretty cool to-do list application. I'm not going to open it because I don't really know what I have open in there right now, and I wouldn't want to show stuff that's private to me. Another piece of software I prefer to use for organization is Notion. Now, you're able to create tasks and stuff like that in Notion. I don't use Notion much for the tasks because I prefer to be reminded of my tasks, and TickTick does that for me. So Notion is just like a pretty cool README with a UI, right? It's just like a big README creator with a nice UI. I'm able to create a bunch of stuff, and not only that, I'm able to create like Trello boards or just boards, databases. I'm able to create tables and calendars and just present my thoughts in an organized way. Okay, other than that, some honorable mentions for organization would be Google Calendar. That's what I use for setting up meetings and just to remember some important things I have to do throughout the day. Okay, moving on to text editors. The text editors I'm currently using are Vim, or is Vim, right? I like to use Vim for my work. I'm currently using NVim version 0.4.4. Um, why am I using NVim instead of just regular Vim? Literally no reason apart from peer pressure and the hype. Everybody seems to like NVim, so I chose that. I don't have anything against regular Vim. I haven't really used it that much to have anything against it. Um, I guess I can show you something really quick, and that's just my vimrc. So I can go to the edit.config file. Oops, the config and init. Oops, nvim init.vim, and here you can see everything that I have in my vim rc or my init.vim in this case. These are the plugins that I have. I think I'll have to make a separate video to explain everything that I have here, but for now, just a quick list of everything that I have that helps me get my tasks done fairly well. I'm still working on this every day. I like to improve on it because every day I want to find a better way to solve a problem when I work with Vim. Okay, so moving on from Vim, the other text editor that I prefer to use is, of course, VS Code. I like to use the Insiders version because that's just the one that seems to work for me. The other versions don't really work well for me, right? So yeah, VS Code so I like to use. I don't really use anything else like Sublime Text. I think I've moved on from that. Anything that I like to do in Sublime Text these days, I just run Vim and I'm able to do that. If I need Vim in the UI, I like to use MacVim. This is regular Vim, not NVim, but for something really quick, a quick edit, to type up something really quick, look at a quick JSON or YAML file, MacVim instead of Sublime Text. Okay, and I work with Flutter a lot. I develop a lot of mobile applications. I love working in mobile and mobile applications. So for that, I don't use VS Code anymore for Flutter because the VS Code debugger on Flutter seems to have some kind of an issue where it can't handle exceptions. So for that, bring in IntelliJ IDEA. That's what I prefer to use for all of my Flutter work and my Kotlin and Java work whenever I'm creating any of those projects. So that's running right now, and you can hear it's kicked up my fans really, really loud. Um, yeah, that's that. And also, I am currently working in just native Android development, and for that, I love to use Android Studio, of course. There's really no other piece of software you'd rather use instead of Android Studio. It was built for that. It's optimized as much as Android Studio can be optimized, and it's great. I'm also a pretty, I guess, intermediate Python developer. For that, I like to use PyCharm. Now, I don't really like to use PyCharm. I only use PyCharm when I'm working with Django projects. It's not the best text editor because it has a lot of overkill for what you want to do, right? So um, I alternate between VS Code and PyCharm, but for the most part, whenever I'm doing some stuff that I want to just do correctly and not really have any issues with, I think I've found more luck with just using PyCharm instead of VS Code and Vim. This might change the more I learn about setting up the development environment for these languages. I like to use Vim for anything to do with JavaScript, Node.js, and stuff like that. And VS Code whenever I'm doing a bunch of HTML, a lot of edits. I find I'm not yet really comfortable with moving around Vim and all the bugs that come with Vim and moving around in Vim. So then I'll just pull out VS Code. Okay, so I guess moving on to the next category, communication. Again, this is not really stuff I focus on too much. It's honorable mentions, Slack, and Gmail, right? Nothing else really. Design, I like to use Figma, which has really, really come a long way in recent past. It's one of the best vector art creation tools, right? And I think emphasis on vector, it's not like a Photoshop type application. It wants me to log in because I purposely logged out to make sure nothing that I own or I'm working on right now is visible. Okay. Away from that, I also love to use Adobe XD. I actually prefer to use Adobe XD over Figma any day. I'll pick Adobe. Um, okay, so away from those things, pieces of software I like to use that aren't on my computer but I love to use still are um, GCP, right? I like to use GCP to deploy a bunch of my projects. This is mainly because um, I like Cloud Run and Cloud Build. I love that those tools are actually available inside GCP. I love using Firebase. I'm an avid Firebase user. Most of the times whenever I'm working on a new project, I'll think about how well I can integrate Firebase or anything GCP into the project. And if not, that's when I'm going to go and decide to build a bunch of servers from scratch. But more often than not, I prefer to use Firebase because as much as I am a developer, there's times where you just really need to verify a concept or have something running. And that's not really what Firebase is for. It's not just for concepts, right? But it helps you get started quicker. You can focus more on solving the problem as opposed to debugging stuff. Okay? I don't like to build auth every time or auth logic or login auth logic every single time I have to start a project that requires login and stuff like that. And APIs as well, right? I don't enjoy creating APIs every single time. And aside from GCP, there's DigitalOcean. Also a big fan of DigitalOcean. It's really, really what got me into um, using VMs heavily. Because before then I was just like 000 web host, GoDaddy, that type of stuff. Then when I got into DigitalOcean, I then started learning more about Linux. I started becoming more challenged, and then, you know, long story short, I'm here now, right? And I've been using DigitalOcean for I think like 2 years now. My website actually is running on DigitalOcean along with a couple others. Okay, but yeah, that's pretty much everything that I use. If there's anything else that I left out that you'd like to know, you can just drop it in the comments and I'll be able to respond. And yeah, stay tuned for the next video. Any suggestions for that you can drop in the comments below. But thanks for watching.